Hey guys, welcome back to Joe Yo, and we are making a sort of a seasonal podcast today, and I'm not talking about autumn or anything like that, or even whatever season this is, because I'm not so sure this is autumn. I mean, if it's then again, do we ever really have a season? I think we have maybe winter weeks, and but summer is like. Like, that can pop up at any time. Like, you can have a 90-degree day in December, but you're not going to get 32-degree days in July. So, welcome to Summerland. But with the season I'm talking about is, and not even hurricane season because, whatever. But the season I'm talking about today is baseball season. And baseball season, as of right now, has just ended. And the Washington Nationals did something that, I don't follow baseball that much, but according to what I understand, it should be right on the list of modern miracles, and they brought a championship to DC. It's been a while since that happened, but with the Redskins and such, but as far as baseball, y'all, that's never, but they've had baseball teams. This is not the first one they've had. Now they have the Washington Nationals. But they used to have the Washington Senators, who, if you followed baseball at all, they moved and they changed their name. And anyway, but we're ending up baseball season, and it's a really good time to look at Johnston County because we don't know if you know, and maybe you do. Johnston County and baseball. It's sort of a thing, right? Who knew? Baseball? Well, Johnston County is definitely not lacrosse territory or even ice hockey, even though maybe the Hurricanes have some fans. But baseball's been a thing, man. Like, baseball has always been a thing. And it's not unique to Johnston County. Baseball's been a thing in a bunch of places, especially those areas where you have rural communities, like, small communities. It's not like baseball is going to show up where there are no people. You got to have spectators, and you've got to have people to play. So baseball tends to work really, really well in small towns, and some would even argue baseball works better in its purest form in small towns as opposed to the major cities. But the major cities have the best talent. But it hasn't always been that way. In Major League Baseball, there's the American League, there's the National League. But do you know where they came from? And that's what today is all about. You see, back in the 1800s, and even early 1900s, as baseball's sort of been there, coming from a sport called rounders and maybe some cricket thrown in there. It's one of those like hodgepodge kind of sports, maybe a little bit of this and that and the other. It's sort of like American football. It's made up of a little bit of this and that and the other. And basketball, is not even. Basketball sure was invented by someone, but the basketball game you see now is nothing like the basketball games that they had when they first started the sport. And baseball. Sort of has looked somewhat similar, maybe more true to the spirit of what the original was, more so than baseball. That's for certain. But they may wear gloves now. The catchers, before the gloves, when they were throwing those fastballs, that had to hurt. But baseball's been around for a bit, and it really sort of really picked up big in North Carolina and in the South too, as the South began to resemble what the North looked like back when the sport was founded. Like, you see, baseball has, of course, as you know, you got your 9 players in the field. And again, I'm not a baseball person, so I'm doing what I can. But you can have large teams, but you don't really have large teams. But you have to have enough people, which means you have to have people living there. And the only reason people live in a community like Johnston County, or say Selma or Four Oaks, is because they tended to be in the late 1800s, early 1900s. people that made up baseball teams and from the communities tend to live in the communities because that's where their jobs are. It makes sense. And so capitalizing on that, a lot of times the places that had employees also realizing that you had to have something to build rapport between the workers, to build some kind of solidarity so that you work, so that your cotton mill works really, really well and as a cohesive unit. Having a sport is not, to bring them together as a team is, well, quite literally team building. And so a lot of mills and a lot of companies in these small towns, much like we see early in upstate New York and other places in the North and Mid-Atlantic, recreation and occupation are going to merge together pretty well. And we see that happen here as some of the businesses and the mills begin to pop up in the southeast North Carolina and also in Johnston County. As we have had our conversation the last few times, a lot of the towns of Johnston County popped up. A lot of the reasons because of the mills, railroads. And so Johnston is going to have probably, a lot of baseball history because of the way it was founded. Not huge manufacturing depots like the Lowell mills in Massachusetts, but the small mills, big enough so we can have teams. And we can look back at the records and see pictures of the town of teams, and sometimes when if maybe you don't have quite enough people for a full mill team, maybe some mills will get together and form a team and then call it the team of a certain town. And we see that happen again in Johnston County. We have town teams. There are pictures of them. Four Oaks had a town team. Smithfield had a couple of them. Princeton had a town team. Benson had a town team. And Irwin, which is over in Harney County, they all have like little town teams. And they would play each other, and it's sort of like for town bragging points, but it's also for mill bragging points. And it got pretty competitive. In fact, it gets to be where people want to begin to pay to see these because it's actually entertainment. What are you going to do? Watch cable? No, it's the 1880s. You're not watching cable. There is no cable. It's the 1920s then. What are you going to do? Watch TV? There is no TV. So go watch a baseball game. And so, Selma, for example. Selma had a couple of teams, and one of the teams, like the Selma's Cotton Mill, their team was called the Cards, and a lot of them were employees. And we see the Selma Cotton Mill Cards as a baseball team. No, not short for Cardinals. Cards. If you know how cotton mills work, you anyway. It's 1938. In fact, all the way into 1949, you see that there are 43 cities in North Carolina or towns with baseball teams. And some of them have gotten big enough in 1949 to actually have developed 7 different minor leagues where you would have leagues of teams play each other. And in 1949, North Carolina actually had the most town teams and the most leagues. Minor leagues, more than any other place in the country. Kind of cool. And just to give you that much more, just for trivial stuff, on March 7, 1914, one of the big city teams, the Baltimore Orioles, they actually came and played, and a lot of these teams would come and play on these baseball fields that were owned by towns or by the mills. And the Baltimore Orioles came to do an exhibition game, an intra-squad, which means just them, exhibition game at the Fayetteville Park. And they had a guy on their team, the Baltimore Orioles, named George Herman Ruth. And you may already know this, but this is according to the record keepers, and according to Babe Ruth himself, his very first professional home run he ever hit was in Fayetteville, North Carolina at Gillespie Ballpark, or at the ballpark on Gillespie Road in Fayetteville. So So baseball's a thing in North Carolina, and again, Johnston County. And in fact, how big of a thing? Well, the Durham Bulls is of course one of your bigger teams, and it's one of those town teams that actually made it to a legit thing. Not all of them did, mind you, but like the San Diego Padres used to be a little small. Was not really that small, but it went from like an independent league to being like a major league. It was sort of adopted in. The Durham Bulls have been there for a long time. Baseball is such a thing that we actually see that the Durham Bulls actually played a couple of games. One day they played a game in one in Raleigh and one in Durham, and at the day game they had 7,000 people come out. The night game they had 8,000 people come out in the same day. So yeah, baseball's a thing. And closer to us, we have a guy named Herbert Smith of Anger. They called him Doc. He helped start a league that's going to actually encompass most of what our town teams were members of, called the Tobacco State League in 1935. Now, he had played in something called the Texas League in the Southern Association of Leagues. He was able to convince businessmen throughout the area to help fund baseball teams, to take them away from the mills, but still have some municipal spirit to go along. He's going to convince businessmen to help fund some of these town teams, give you something to do. I guess for much the same reason why towns want to build parks, for recreation. And now the Tobacco State League was the only actual league that was completely within North Carolina. You had other leagues like the Carolina League, which actually had some Virginia teams, but the Tobacco State League was just North Carolina, and so they started play the Tobacco State League in 35, tried to renew in 36, but the funds were not there. Was able to renew in 37, and they had teams like the Tobacco State League. I mean, it's really cool. Teams like the Tobacco State League had teams like the Anger Fuquay Springs Bulls, the Dunn Irwin Twins, the Clinton Sampson Blues, which is actually not named because of the music, but because of a kind of flower. You had the Fayetteville Scotties. You had the Lumberton Auctioneers. If that doesn't say tobacco, I don't know what does. They also had Lumberton Cubs when they changed their name. The Red Springs Red Robins, the Rockingham Eagles were members of the Tobacco State League. You had the Sanford Spinners, which were a really, really good team. But again, that tells me right there, Cotton Mill. You had the Warsaw Red Sox. You had the Whiteville Tobs. What the heck's a Tob? You know what a Tob is? A Tob is a tobacconist. So they were quite literally the Whiteville tobacconists. You had the Wilmington Pirates. And all of these were members of the Tobacco State League. And again, the only minor league that was actually completely North Carolinian. The Tobacco State League, Sanford is going to win a bunch of them. Sanford's going to end up joining something called the Peach Belt League, and then you're going to have a team from Clayton join the Tobacco State League. You have a team called the Wake Lawn. I forgot what their mascot was, but it was the town of Wakefield and the town of Zebulon got together to make Wake Lawn. They usually played 4 games a week. And the pay was set by the individual teams, so some could play better than others. In 38, the Tobacco State League brought in Laurinburg, Fayetteville, as I said earlier, the actual Fayetex mill that was there at the time provided most of the players. And the league president was a guy named Chick Doak, who was the NC State baseball coach at the time. And in 39, they lost some teams. They were down to 4. In 1940, Sanford, Raleigh, Irwin, and you had the Robbins team, and then they gained a new team called the Smithfield-Selma Leafs. What do you know? And the Sanford Spinners won that year. They went on to play in Wichita for a national semi-pro championship, and then they went pro. So you actually had some pretty big names of people that actually went to the major leagues out of the Tobacco State League from our Tobacco League. Anger had, oh my gosh, Had a guy that played for the Angier team. His name was Bill Holland. He played for the Senators. Connie Ryan, he coached and managed the Braves and the Rangers. Al Jurish played for the Cardinals and Phillies and the Padres in the Pacific Coast League. Woody Upchurch is going to play for the Athletics, for the Philadelphia Athletics. Tommy Burns is going to play for the Yankees. Porter Vaughn used to play baseball at Angier, played for the Athletics. Got a guy named Ray Scarborough, played for various teams. And the Tobacco League got big enough to go Class D, which what that means is if you go back, you know how you have AAA and AA and single A. This is pretty low down, but it does. Some of the teams do go to where they are going to ally themselves with major league teams and become farm teams. That's what this is going to be. The Smithfield-Selma Leaves is going to have a guy that played for them called Fred Gay. He played for the Kansas City Blues, which of course is going to later on move and change its name. Johnston County, not only did we have people that played for Johnston County teams in the Tobacco League, we also have people from Johnston County that actually hit it big. And we actually have a lot if you really look at it. For example, you got a guy named Frank Talmadge Davis. They called him Dixie. He was born in 1890. He's from Wilson's Mills. He played from 1912 to 1926 in the majors. He played for Cincinnati, Chicago, Philadelphia, St. Louis. He played for roughly 10 years off and on. Of course, we got more recently. We have Corey Wayne Lee. He was born in 1974. He played for Clayton High School, then played for Texas. Jerry Sands, of course, again, more recent. We got associated with the Dodgers and Tampa and Cleveland. Someone that I know, John Rayner, he played for South Johnston, played for Pittsburgh as well. Barry Foote is a big name in the area. Played for Smithfield-Selma High School, and he played from 73 to 82. We see associated with the Expos, Cubs, Yankees, and Phillies. Someone that lives close to me or is from the area, Earl Stevenson from McGee's Crossroads, born in 47. He played a number of years here as well. Brewers, Cubs, Orioles, Chris Archer more recently. We see Clayton High School played with Tampa. Sam Nairn, and Sam Nairn, there's a whole family of the Nairns that are going to play professional baseball and coach professional baseball. We see from the Northeast Johnston area, St. Louis is going to be him. Then you got Rooster, of course. We also have a guy named Vernon Van Duke Duncan. They called him Duke. He was born in 1890 in Clayton. He played 3 years in the major leagues. He played for Philadelphia and Baltimore. And, of course, a guy named Al Evans, he's kind of neat because he bridges the Tobacco League and he also goes into the majors, and he's from Kenly. And he was born 1916. He played from 39 to 51. He's from Kenly, played for the Washington Senators. Johnston County also has some football stars or people that play football, but baseball's sort of always been there, and again, sort of mirrors our development as a political unit because, as the mills move in south, you're going to have people, the mills are going to want to have teams, again, team building activities, at least in Johnston, team building activities, tend to build teams. And from those teams come leagues, and so there we go, and hope you enjoyed it. Talking about Johnston's baseball past, it's kind of cool and present for that matter. And congrats to the Senators. I mean Nationals. No, that was on purpose. And until next time, y'all be good. And by the way, I want to give a big thank you, big shout out to Jamie Lee from Four Oaks. He is currently serving as the athletics director and baseball coach at Cleveland High School, who gave me a lot of this information about Johnston's professional baseball players. So thanks, Coach. I sure could not have done it without you.